So welcome anybody online that's there. I'm Sarah, I'm so happy to be here with you. This practice of yoga RX, it's such as a teacher, it's such a beautiful thing to explore. Because as a teacher, I'm also always a student. And there's certain practices or certain shapes or certain areas of the body are quite humbling. You find as you explore certain areas, it's like, oh, that. God, I had no idea. It's like a new discovery, right? And each time we arrive into those moments, sometimes there's this thing that happens where our mind has a judgment about it. Like, oh, I should be able to do this, or I want it to be that. And we can lose sight quite easily, all of us, about being able to recognize and be okay with what's right there, right? But the thing about working with the body, it is a conversation, it's communication. And how is it that our bodies communicate with us? Sometimes in little whispers, sometimes they scream at us, somewhere in between, right? But when we arrive into certain places, can we arrive and say, this is good, this is enough, this is enough. Right where I'm at, just as I am, this is okay. You see, that's the practice, or part of it. It's those reminders that when we arrive, can we land, can we arrive and be what is right there in front of us without striving? Can we be content with what presents itself? Honor with gratitude what we are capable of, or what we have access to, what we are aware of. The list can go on. So, as you find yourself as you are, maybe you're upright with me, or maybe you're on your back. Blink your eyes closed, maybe a little softness in your gaze. And let your hands land where they are. If you're lying down, if your hands are on the ground, let them be there. If your hands are called to touch a place on your body, maybe your heart or your belly, maybe both. Maybe your hands want to stay in your lap if you're sitting upright. But take a moment there to listen. Take a moment to listen with your whole body. Sense your heartbeat. Notice your breath without changing anything. Just simply notice it. Notice the tone of your muscles in your legs, in your arms, in your shoulders, in your belly, in your butt, back of your legs, feet. Just notice. Notice if your breath can sense where it is that there's maybe an invitation, or maybe a calling out. It says, hey, me over here. See me. Notice me. Love me. Whatever it is. Give yourself permission that however you are, whatever this physical container presents it with tonight, is enough. If you are on your back, you can stay just as you are. If you're sitting upright, we are going to come on down to the floor. So as you come on down here to your back, taking your sweet, start to bend your knees so that your soles of your feet are on the ground. Take your feet here a little bit wide on your mat. And take your knees and tip them to the left. And notice that when you tip your knees to the left, your right side of your seat is going to come up off of the ground. Your left leg here is externally rotating, reaching away from your middle, and your right leg here is internally rotating at your thigh bone. You're on the inside of your right foot, on the outside of your left foot. Notice if there's a weight, a heaviness in your right leg. Notice if there's tightness and tension. Notice if the shape feels spacious. And then shift here so that your knees come back through the middle. And then let your knees draw to the right. So as your knees draw to the right, again, notice now here your right leg is reaching away from your center. Your left femur bone here is rotating or drawing in towards your middle. You might notice that one side feels different than the other. Your shoulder blades can stay connected to the ground, but they're more asymmetrical here in your legs and your hips. And then draw your legs nice and slowly back here and through the middle. Now you're going to keep your right foot on the floor, and then you're going to pick your left leg up. You're going to rotate here to bring your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Okay. So when you do that, feel here, take your hands to your hip bones. Feel here how your hip bones can stay right where they're at, so your pelvis stays where it's at, but you're just rotating here at your femur bone. So imagine your thigh bone as it would rotate away from your center, reaching your knee here essentially, away from your middle. But notice when your right hip wants to hike up. It's really common. Now, we're going to add here that little tick-tock. So last time here, we drew our knees to the left first. So just start to just rock a little bit back and forth over your pelvis. Your leg stays where it is. And then eventually, you're going to bring the sole of your left foot, so your ankle that's crossed on top of your leg, you're going to bring that to the floor, or maybe on a blanket, or maybe on a block, if the surface bringing up to you is a little more accessible. Now notice when your left knee or your left thigh wants to draw in towards your belly. Keep reaching your leg away from your right leg. So keep reaching it away from the floor. Now take your hand and be a kickstand there. That's okay. But resist the urge to push it anywhere. Resist the urge to want to make it do something that it doesn't want to do or it's not ready to do. It is early. Notice that you might have an intense sensation in the outside of your left hip. Stay here for another moment. And then you're going to very slowly, you're going to reach down to the pinky toe side of your right foot, so that when you push down from there, bring your legs back up through the middle, heel toe your right foot a little bit to the right, and then let your knees go to the left. So now you're going to be on the inside of your right foot. Now again, if you want to bring a blanket or a block or anything underneath your left leg, you most certainly can. You'll notice here how there's a little bit more rotation here. There's a little bit more arch here in the low back, and that's okay. Your left knee does not have to touch the ground. But for a moment here, just notice how, again, your left leg is reaching away from your middle, and your femur bone here, your thigh bone on your right leg, is wrapping inwards. You might even add a little intentional movement there, drawing that into action. Another moment there. And then very slowly, you're going to reach down through your foot that's on the floor, to bring yourself back in through the middle. Free your left leg, so take it away from your thigh first and then set your left foot down on the ground. You can wiggle around, do what you need to do. And then we're gonna switch sides. So bring your right leg up, cross it over into your left thigh. And again, just notice where it's at. Notice if it feels like your knee is closer towards your belly, your thigh is closer to your belly. Notice if there's space here to reach your right thigh away from your center, reach it away from your belly button. Again, maybe hands on your hip bones are a nice cue. I know a lot of times what will happen is that when you start to reach your leg away, the pelvis wants to tip. So it's like this little mind trick that we're trying to create a shape that's bigger than it actually is. So don't take the bait. Just notice the intention here of the energy of where the action is around the outside of your right hip. And then you're gonna start to rock a little bit. Just keep it gentle, keep it small here to start, because it's gonna give you little hints or little inklings to how your right hip is gonna receive that information. And eventually, then your right foot is gonna come down to the ground. So your knees are gonna go to the left. And there again, you could bring your right foot onto a surface to bring it up a little bit if that's helpful. Notice here when your right thigh wants to collapse in, actively reach it away from you. So bring some intention there. You might even feel that on the outside of your right butt cheek or the outside of your right hip. You could hold your right ankle if you would like, or your hand could be just holding it there like a kickstand, but don't push or shove. Stay there for another moment. And then you're going to reach down for the pinky toe side of your left foot to bring yourself back through the middle. And then you're going to let your knees, you're going to keep that same shape. Heel toe your left foot maybe a little bit to the left, and then let the shape rotate to the right. So your right knee might not touch the ground, that's okay. If it feels though that it's floating and you want to bring some support, again, a block underneath your thigh or a blanket there. Sometimes heel toeing the left foot a little bit back away from you is helpful. For some it's not, but that's the exploration, right? Feeling out what's going on. Notice here with your left thigh bone, how it can rotate in towards the middle. A little turn in there. Yeah, bring a little bit of intention. So we're not just hanging out on our ligaments. There's a little bit of muscular activation, not a lot, but some. And then very slowly, you're going to bring yourself back here through the middle. You can walk your left foot in some and then release your right leg. And again, just simply knock your knees here side to side. Let some of that go. Now, what we're going to play with next is a pigeon shape, but on our back. If you've ever been in a vinyasa class with me, we have oftentimes played with what I refer to as an active pigeon. So we're going to take an active pigeon on our back. So if you want to take a peek at me, you can, or if you want to do it along with me, you can as well. So we're going to start by crossing our right leg on top. So bring your right leg up and your left, so your right ankle's going to go on top of your left thigh. Now, right here might be enough. You might stay just as you are in the shape where we were just a moment ago. Or now you might start to pick your left foot up, bringing your right leg essentially closer to you. Now, what you're going to do is find this space here where, without using your hands to pull yourself anywhere, where is it that your hip flexors can draw you in? So especially your left thigh here, drawing towards, but can you stay open through your right hip? Now here's the humbling experience, my friends, okay? You're gonna take your hands, your right hand's gonna go around your right leg, and your left hand's gonna hold the bottom of your right foot, okay? Are we there? No. No. Almost? Let me see. Yep, so take your right hand and go to the outside of, yeah, there you go, you got it. Are we there? Now, take your left thigh away from your right leg
And it could be just a little bit. It could be you keep the bend in your left leg, but now your left thigh and your right ankle are not touching one another. Now, let your right leg go. Can you hold it there? Yeah, I know. And then you're gonna give yourself a break and you're gonna bring your left leg in and catch your right ankle again. It's like, oh, relief. Humbling, isn't it? It is. So we're gonna do it again, because Janet says it's a good one. So you're gonna hold the outside of your right leg, your outside of your right knee, I'm sorry, and your right foot. Hold your leg there. And now take your left thigh away from your right leg. Now here's where you have a choice. You could keep your left leg like horizontal to the ground, or horizontal, like not horizontal, but where your knee and your hip are stacked. Or when you let go of your right leg, you could lengthen your left leg all the way out and keep opening in that space of your right hip in external rotation and an external rotation, yes. And then draw your left leg back in, catch your right ankle. And give yourself that beautiful exhale. It says, I got you. I'm holding you. And we're going to do one more time. So again, you get to choose. We're going to start by holding, freeing your left leg. Now again, you might keep your left leg just a little bit away. That's all right. Where is it that you can hold your right leg in that pigeon shape and then reach your left leg maybe a little bit further away from you? Keep engaged at your core. One more breath there. And then bend your left leg, catch your right ankle. Soften. Now bring your left foot down to the ground. Free your right leg. Bring your right foot down to the ground. And take some nice little yummy windshield wipers there with your knees. Good work. Good work. Okay, so we did one side. We have another. So here's our left leg coming up when you're ready. Crossing your left ankle on top of your right thigh. And again, leaving your right foot on the floor and just taking mental note to where the space is in your left hip. Okay, feeling a little bit of that action already on the outside of your left hip, around your greater trochanter, that upper part of your femur bone, right out here. And then draw your right thigh up. Now again, use the strength in your hips to pull you up instead of your hands being there. And keep that in mind, like when is it that we use our hands to pull ourselves into places where our hips might not go on their own? And when is it that we can stay there and hold and support, right? And what's the difference there? What does that mean for your body? Now, take your hands, and you're going to hold around the outside of your left knee, and you're going to hold your foot here with your right hand. And you're going to start to free your right thigh. And then can you keep your left leg where it's at when you let your hands go? And not hold your breath. Keep breathing. Keep your left leg in that shape, and then catch your right ankle. I'm sorry, that's your left ankle. And notice the softening, especially in your low back, if there's any tension that crept up there. And again, hold your left leg. So you're almost creating this little cradle to say, I got you. And then take your right leg away. Now, your right leg might go just a few inches away from your ankle. When you hold your leg, now let your foot go, let your knee go. Maybe you reach your right leg out a little bit more. Maybe it's long, but it hovers. Keep externally rotating at your left thigh. And then bring your right leg back in, catch your left ankle, and soften into it a little bit. And one more time, you're going to hold your foot, hold your knee, keep it in that space. When you take your right leg away, actively feel like you're wrapping your femur bone away from your pubic bone. So away from your center, and then reach your right leg out, hold your left leg there. It's like flying pigeon, but on your back. Some core work. And then your right leg back in, catch your left ankle, and soften into it. Bring your right foot down. Free your left leg. Set that down on the ground and knock your knees there a little side to side. Your knocking your knees might be little, they might be big. The next time your knees go to the right, roll all the way to your right side, and then bring yourself up.
realize I'm gonna back myself up here just a little bit here away from the camera. So as you come on up, we already feeling warm around our hips? Yeah. So now you're gonna take your feet here and you're gonna take them out here away from your center. Now you're on like the pinky toe side of your foot. Okay. So here now your hip bones are wrapping away from your middle, so they're in external rotation, absolutely. Hold on around your shin bones. Now reach up into that space above the crown of your head. Feel your sitting bones, so that bottom of your pelvis there, you may wiggle around a little bit and find them finding that vertical shape. So what you want to watch out for, and just turn to the side so you can see me, is you're going to watch out for this. Okay? Now there's a time and a place, right? Some cat-cow shape in there could be really fun, actually. That could be good. I haven't done that before. This gave me an idea. This is how I get my ideas, you guys. If you find that rocking back into your pelvis happens, this is where a blanket is a really great tool. So you could roll up a blanket and sit on the edge of it. And what that'll do is it'll tip your pelvis there a little forward. Okay? But if it feels like, all right, I feel vertical here, good. We're gonna start with our right leg. This is my right leg. I know it's opposite, you guys. You're gonna take your right leg, you're gonna lift your toes, you're on your heel there, and just notice where your right thigh bone, if you rotate it internally, where it goes, without picking up your pelvis. Again, another humbling shape, isn't it? Like, oh. Internal rotation is oftentimes very different than external rotation as far as range of motion goes. And then let that go. Okay? Yeah, you got it. I'm gonna do that on the left side. So you're from your femur bone, this is the place in which you're initiating the movement. One side might be very different than the other. Notice when you want to pick up your butt. Right? Notice when you want to shift off of that seat. We will actually do that in just a moment. And then take your left leg back out. And then land and catch yourself there. And then back to the right side. Feeling here and noticing. Feel the action of what it feels like for your femur bone to rotate in the socket. Because remember, your femur bone inserts into your pelvis here in this ball and socket joint. And then take your leg back out, externally rotating, bringing the pinky toe side of your foot down into the floor as much as you can. And then again with the left. Notice if you have one side here that the sensation feels very different. Notice if the range of motion is different. And then bring it back. And then one more time with the right. And you might notice if your toes spread, mine do. Yeah, because there's that whole chain, right? You're gonna recruit your whole chain of like, okay, what's the action here? And then open up your right leg, so there's external rotation. And then one more time with your left. Internal rotation, but keeping your pelvis. So what you're doing is you're training your brain, making those neural connections that you can move your hip joint in isolation from your pelvis. Okay? Because they take very different movements. But for many of us, go ahead and open up your left leg. Give yourself vertical there. And if you want to take a little break and let your legs go, bounce them around again, or bounce them out a little bit, you can. And then eventually we're going to come right back at this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the right first, but we're going to initiate here with the back leg. So if I bring my left leg in internal rotation here, at some point, if I'm going to turn myself that way, you guys are turning yourself to the right. I know I'm opposite because my brain doesn't allow me to. I'm still working on it. I still have hope for myself. I do. So you're going to take your left leg and you're going to internally rotate it, just like what you were doing. And then eventually, when that leg can't go anymore in an internal rotation, then you're going to start to shift and put the weight into your right hip. I know I'm going in opposite direction of you guys. You're going to go that way. For the people in the room. I don't know if that's true for the people in the video. I'll work on it. I'll do it different next time, okay? I promise. Now, notice, take a look at your legs. Notice how you're in this 90-degree shape with both of your legs. Okay? Again, if you want to bring a block or a blanket underneath, you most certainly can. You can also make some adjustments. Now, let's just keep it simple. Let's just rock back. So start with your back leg, with your left leg lifting. So you're gonna start to externally rotate it to the point where it's like, okay, I can't go any further before then I have to shift. You can use your hands or you can challenge yourself in not using any hands. So now your right leg's gonna rotate in until you can't go any further before you pick up your pelvis, and then finish the movement as you put the weight now into your left hip. And just notice your legs, make some adjustments. Yeah, that's it. And then leading with your back leg, start to lift up. So you have to reach down through the inside of your back foot and then bring yourself back up, then through. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hear you. I'm going to try, which might mean I'm going to say the wrong left or right. Hang in there. I'm going to do it though. Because Janet says I can.
You can do it.
So we're all going to go to this direction here. What if I do that, right? You know, what's funny is, you know, in the non-COVID life, they teach 7 classes a week. And like, I'm just in habits of directions and things that they do. And I'm out of so many of those habits that this was that left and right's work for me.
Turning off some synapses, Sarah.
Yes, girl. Yes. Always, for the rest of my life. Yes, this is the work. But we're going to go this way. So you're going to take your left leg. You're going to rotate it internally. And then when you can't go any further, that's then when you're going to shift into your pelvis. Okay? So now you're sitting here a little bit more into your right hip, right? Okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to hinge over your left or your right leg. Yep. Keep reaching your breastbone forward. You can keep your hands on the ground, or you can challenge yourself with no hands. Reach down for your left hip and then bring yourself back up. And then we're gonna do that again. Keep the length in your spine. Feel like you're reaching your breastbone forward as you reach over the hip here that you're sitting on. That's your right hip. And you'll feel how the back leg is supporting yourself, right? And then bring yourself up. Again, might be hands, might be no hands. As you hinge one more time, keep reaching your breastbone forward. Keep lengthening through your spine. And then reach down through the outside of your leg to bring yourself up. That's it. And then you're going to lift up through your back leg, bring yourself back through the middle. Okay? So then the opposite. Here we go. Rotating in, and then rocking here onto your left hip. Taking your time, adding supports as you need to with your hips, your knees. And then reach your breastbone forward as you lean here in. You're hinging more at your right hip. So if you think about a pigeon, if you've ever done this upright pigeon where we forward fold over to it, right, you're hinging over your right hip in external rotation. So now reach down to your right hip and bring yourself back up. So this is a beautiful place to work if that's a shape in your body that hasn't always been very inviting. So here we are again. Hinging to your degree, it might even just be a smidgen. And then reaching back up, thinking about keeping that lift up forward through your breastbone. Again, hands can be on the ground, framing your foot, framing your leg. Yep, last time. And then bring yourself back up, leading with your back leg. Here we are. And then one more time to the right. Now this time, remember how we held our leg in pigeon? Okay, so you're gonna have your heel on the outside of your leg. Yep, you got it. And then you're gonna lift your right leg. Now, I just did like a big giant lean back. You all saw me do that. I'm cheating. That happens, right? Bring yourself up and keep reaching down for your left, or sorry, that's your right hip. Now, keep your leg there. No hands, maybe. That's it! Ta-da! Now, ready? Lengthen your leg. And then set your heel down. Look at you. Groaning, whatever words you need to say, absolutely are allowed, right? And wherever it lands, it's enough. So now, lift up your heel. So you have to use your hip flexor, bend at your knee, but you're externally rotating, and then bringing it it right back to where it was. Yeah. And then bring yourself back through the middle. You got it. All right. And then to your left. So rotating in from the back leg initiates the movement, and then the rest of the pelvis, you're in the chain here, and that spiral, hint, spiraling, is going to show up here in a little bit, okay? So really feel like all right, I'm in my right hip, your left sitting bone is off of the ground in most cases, okay? And then bringing support underneath there is needed, cool. You need to bring something underneath your right leg, also wonderful. So now hold your front leg. And again, there might be an initial lean back, but then minimize it. Use your core here to stabilize you. As you're not just lifting at your heel, because then all that's going to do is force a little bit more external rotation. You're also holding the outside of your left leg there. Okay. Now, no hands. Hold it there. Yes. Yep, you got it. Lengthen your leg out. And then set your heel down. Pause. Yes, that's okay, right? It feels so damn heavy. I know. Now take a mental note of the shape of your legs, because this is going to show up here, and we're gonna in the next phase of things. Okay. So right now, when your leg that's out in front of you, your toes are facing up, right? So that when you lift your heel, you can use your fingers, absolutely push down into the ground with your fingertips. And when you bend at your leg, rotate externally at your right thigh, or your left thigh, damn it. And then set it down. Here we go. Lifting up from the back leg, bringing yourself back in the middle. Oh, okay. Bounce around your legs. You might even feel nice to do like little windshield wipers or some padding. Jen, do you believe me that we primed for this on Wednesday?
Still into that.
It's still lingering? Okay. I'm okay with that. You know that about me. Waking up the brain, waking up the body, and how they communicate together. So, here we go. We're going to now take a shift here into how we can add here a movement. There's going to be some spiraling and some diagonal lines. We're going to take our sweet time with it, because we have the time, a little bit extra time here, which is good. So I'm going to have you watch me first. I'm just going to do one side, and then I'm going to talk you through it as we do it together, okay? Because it's going to have different steps and stages. This is about, what I want you to take from this is the intention of how we now move. We've been doing a lot of isolating work on how we isolate the femur bones here from how our pelvis and our spine move, essentially. And then we started adding on a little bit more and more. But now, when we start putting that all together, all of these shapes, right, have to come together to fit like a puzzle. So that when we go to transition on the floor and move in ways that now there's some connection, right? There's some synchrony there. And how, right? The foot, the knee, the hip, your pelvis, your lumbar spine, your thoracic spine, how they all move together. Okay? So what we're going to do, just watch me first. I'm trying to think which leg makes the most sense to demo with from where I'll be rotating. Okay, I think I know. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start from the bottom, and we're going to bend a leg, okay? So when you, no, really, I'm going to do this. No, really, I keep changing my mind. So that when you lift up, if you were in class with me, was that last week? We did a lot of hip extension work. So here we are, right? I'm using my glute to lift my leg. Now I'm going to look back for it. So I'm going to look to the opposite side. My hands are going to come down so that when my foot starts to come back, I'm going to keep looking for my foot. And you see now where there's that potential for rotation? Okay. Now I'm going to use my hands and bring myself up. Remember when I said when one leg was long and the other leg was bent? And I said, remember what that shape would look like? Here you are. Okay. So as we find it, it just came off of the screen. That's going to happen throughout this class. I'm going to come off the screen. You guys are probably going to come off your mat here a little bit, but we'll all be working the same side, so it'll work. So then once we get up, then we're going to add in some of those other shapes. You see me? Yeah, and I'll talk you through it. So where we lifted the heel and bent the leg, and now here I am in that 90 degree shape yet again. So then if I bring myself up into more of a Janushirasana shape where, right, how often do we land ourselves here in the class, right? All of this pivoting from the hip, but then we're gonna eventually find our way all the way back down into the ground. So I'm gonna talk you through these shapes. We're gonna take our time, we're gonna even pause in some of those. I went through that pretty quick. I probably even missed some steps, but do we get the idea? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start all on our belly. So come on down to your belly. And just settle in there for a moment. Wiggle your hips around a little bit. Let yourself be, let yourself land. Notice that you're already clenching in your butt and getting ready here to rock and roll. Let some of that go. And then you're going to bend at your right knee. Now, feel how you anchor down through your pelvis, and then you can bring your hands back in line here with your chest. Okay? You're going to start by lifting your foot up towards the ceiling. You're going to feel it in your glute. Now look over your left shoulder and look for your foot. Okay? Now you're going to keep looking for your foot the whole time. You're going to push through both of your hands. Keep looking at your foot, and there's that rotation. And then eventually your foot's going to find the ground. Take your time. And then you're going to bring yourself up. So now you're going to face the back of the room. You got it. So here we are in this shape, right? Where our back leg is bent to that 90 degrees. It's internally rotated, and our left leg is up. Yeah? Now, use your fingertips. You're going to lift up your left heel. Externally rotate at your left thigh there. And then you're sitting on your left hip. Okay? Now, take a listen. You can use your fingers or you could do no hands. You're going to now lengthen out your right leg out to the side. You're going to hover it. So you're going to lean to your left hip. Yep. And then bring it all the way around. Yep. You're still facing the back of the room. Yep. So now just set it down in front of you. So your right leg is long and your left knee is bent out to the side. So the sole of your left foot is to the inside of your right leg. Yep, okay, we all got it, super. So there you see that, the shape here that oftentimes we find ourselves in at the end of the vinyasa class, or the end of a class. So just for a moment, feel the seat in both of your sitting bones there. Now you're going to take your left knee and draw it up and in. So now you're on the sole of your left foot. Okay. Now we're going to twist towards our right. So you're going to twist towards your right leg. Yep, you might be off your mat, that's all right. You can adjust it if you want or be okay with it. When you reach your right hand back, already feel like there's a lean in, like kind of like that rebounding quality you did on the way up, but now we're going to go on the way down. So look over your right shoulder now. Yep, look over your right shoulder and then keep leaning. You're going to lean into your right hip, and then when you come down to the ground, then your left hip is going to go out to the side. Yeah, and then you can lay there. Pause there. I think I'm totally off the camera. That's all right. You might be off your mat, but we're all off our mat, so we're still 6 feet away or 10 feet away. In my case, I'm much bigger than you guys. Let some of the twisting and unwinding, let some of the stirring up that can happen with practices like that. Let it land here. You could rest on your right cheek here, looking over your left leg if you'd like. If that works in your neck, if it doesn't, find another way. Now, you're going to reach down to the inside of your left knee and lift your back foot up. Yep, so it's internal rotation, so your bent leg, your left leg, yep. Yep, and then bring it back here into the middle. And now the sole of your foot is up towards the ceiling, just like where we began, on our belly. Now we're gonna come up. So if you're off your mat, we're gonna adjust that now. Yep. So now bring your hands in line with your chest. Anchor through your pelvis.
And then lift the sole of your foot up towards the ceiling. So there's your glute. You feel your glute on your left leg. Now, you're gonna look for your foot. You're gonna look over your right shoulder. As you start to push down, you're gonna take your lifted foot back behind you and bring yourself up. Keep looking at your back foot. And then eventually, you come up. So now your right leg is out in front of you long and your left leg's out behind you maybe. If that does not work in your left knee, then let it go. Find another way to bring the sole of your foot down on the ground instead. Yeah, there you go, there you go. Fingertips are gonna reach down. Lift up your right heel, there's your hip flexor. Now bend at your right knee, you're gonna externally rotate your hip like that pigeon shape. Yeah. Now you're gonna lean towards your right hip. Extend your left leg. Kick a fireplace here. Now swing it around, nice and slow with control. Set it down and lower your left hip back down to the ground. Now your left leg is long, your right leg is bent. The sole of your right foot to the inside of your left leg. You did it. You did it. Just pause there, sit up here in both of your sitting bones, reach up into that space at the crown of your head. And it's so fun to watch how even you guys all are and how much longer in your spines you are as you sit like that. That's cool. So you're gonna take your right knee and you're gonna bring it in towards the middle. So now it's the sole of your right foot on the ground. Now, I'm gonna adjust myself. So I'm gonna come a little bit closer to my mat, because I'm so way off my mat, because we're gonna rotate it towards the left leg. So that's helpful. I like doing this practice without a mat, and I don't ever have to worry about it. So you can even lean back a little, reach your left arm back. As you reach your left arm back, you can lean into it, even soften your left elbow here. Be a little buoyancy there. Now look back at your left hand. You'll feel your left shoulder blade draws towards your spine. There's this beautiful rotation that shows up. And then you're gonna lean into your left hand, lean into the outside of your left hip. Your right hand then will find the ground. And then you're gonna rotate all the way down to the ground with your right leg out. Yeah, you got it, you got it. Now this time, again, if your neck allows, your gaze is gonna go to the right. Feel here how your left leg can be long. Notice the space in your right hip. So we're going to do each side just one more time, with the invitation that maybe you can smooth out some of the kinks now that we've been through the twisty, turning qualities there. What is that carnival ride called? Tilt-a-whirl? Is that right? Is that a ride? Yeah? Yeah, it's a little tilt-a-whirl. So now, you're gonna take your right knee, reach it down, and the inside of your thigh is gonna rotate in so your right foot comes up, and then bring it back. You got it. Now lift up the sole of your right foot. Bring your hands back by your chest. Look over your left shoulder. Look for your right foot. And then keep reaching your right foot back behind you. And then keep looking at it. Keep looking at it until it lands on the ground. Maybe your foot, maybe your knee that lands first, and your left leg is long. The right leg is behind you and bent. That's it. Lift up your left heel from your hip flexor. Bend at your left knee. Bring that leg down to the ground. You're gonna lean a little bit more into your left hip. Extend your right leg. There's your adductor. You're gonna feel that on the outside of your right butt cheek. And then swing it around towards the front, and then lower both of your sitting bones down on the ground. You got it. You got it. Now, let's take that Janu Sirsasana that we've been talking about. When you fold, what you're going to do is you're going to line the right side of your rib cage over your right thigh. So a little softness in your right knee, so that when you hinge, keep both sides of your pelvis on the ground. That is really particularly important for anybody who's ever had SI issues, who's ever had that pain that goes on the back of your leg. Really important that you stay level in your pelvis to keep your sacrum happy. And there, one more moment. And
then you're gonna walk your hands back up. You're gonna bring your left knee in, right? So you're gonna bring from your femur bone, bring your leg back into space, and now there's the sole of your left foot there on the ground. You're gonna twist towards your right leg. So you're twisting into the open twist here. Oftentimes when we twist like this, we twist closed and we twist towards the bent leg. So look back for your right hand. Your right hand might even reach back here some. Soften your right elbow. And then your left arm's gonna start to reach across, and there's that diagonal stretch. Yeah, that's it. And that can feel so yummy. And then keep reaching with your left hand, and eventually it will come down to the ground. Roll onto your right hip, and then your left leg's gonna come out. And then pause and soften. Let your belly here feel connected as it reaches into the ground as you breathe. Another moment. You're going to internally rotate your left thigh bone so that your foot starts to lift up, and then you can slide your left leg back, and now the sole of your left foot stays right where it's at. So your left knee is bent behind you, just in the beginning, just like where we started. You got it, you got it. Hands back in line with your chest, bring your gaze into the middle. Start to lift the sole of your foot up. Look over your right shoulder. So you're looking over your right shoulder. So there's the twist. There's your diagonal line. There's that spiral. As you reach your foot back behind you, push through your arms and then bring yourself up. So your left leg is bent and your right leg is long. Yep. And then if it gets messy, that's all right. That's life. Make it up. You got it. So we're all sitting here, right leg out in front of us. You can tense your fingertips on the ground. You're going to lift your right heel. Hip flexor, there's some core work. You might feel this in your low belly later on. Bring your right leg here into that pigeon shape. And then you're going to reach a little bit more into your right seat. And then you're going to start to extend your left leg. It's going to hover and float there. You're going to feel that action on the outside of your left hip maybe. You might feel on the inside of your adductor there. And as you bring your left leg back around, lower your heel, have a seat. So now here we are in the Janu Sirsasana on the left. So your right leg is bent, the sole of your right foot in the direction of your left leg. It could be high up into your thigh, it could be more in line with your calf muscle, your knee, anywhere in between. Both of your sitting bones stay on the ground. You stay with that open hip idea. And then your left side of your rib cage lines over your left thigh. And then you reach your breastbone in the direction of your left foot here. Keep some softness in your left knee. Your hands can walk down towards your foot nearby. It might not be anywhere nearby. I want you to focus more on keeping your right sitting bone reaching down. One more moment there to breathe all the way in, all the way out, and then start to very slowly bring yourself up. Take your right leg, and you're going to rotate it in towards the middle. You might feel your right foot here a little bit. Okay, so we're sitting up tall there. Now you're going to rotate to the left. So you're rotating over your long leg. You're reaching your left hand back behind you. There's that spiral line again. And then as you reach your right arm across, there's a softness in your left elbow. You start to lean into the left hip. When your right hand finds the ground, then let the rest of the shape follow. You see, so it's finding the end range. It's finding the space in your body before then you recruit the next section of your body or the next section of your spine. So moving almost in segments, but then connecting it through that thread, that chain of movement, that chain of connective tissue in order to find space. Your gaze can be towards your right leg here. There's more of a wind down and tension. Staying here for just another moment.
And then your right leg internally rotates, so then that means your right foot's gonna lift up towards the ceiling, and then draw your legs together, scissor them together, and now you just get to simply lengthen out your right leg and your left leg. If you're off your mat, you want to scoot back, you can. You can stack your hands here on your forehead and wiggle your hips a little side to side. If it feels better to bend your knees and do more of a windshield wiper, that is nice too. It's up to you. Again, visit that idea of what's the tone like in your muscles, what's the tissues here in your belly, in your butt, the area around the inside of your hip, the outside of your hip, inside of your leg, outside. Do you have any sensation or energy in your feet? Your low back, your shoulders, your neck. And then bring your hands here underneath your shoulders. Press yourself up here to a tabletop. Swing your feet off to one side. Bring both of your feet out in front of you. So if you have any props that would support here a seated forward fold, we're going to keep our legs here in the middle. Maybe a blanket or a bolster here underneath your knees, or maybe the bolster catches you here in the middle. So start here with your heels in line with your hips, maybe even a little wide here through all of that spaciousness that we were playing with tonight. Find your sitting bones again. So again, notice that when you sit, if you're rocked back onto your pelvis, again, this is where a blanket is really helpful because it can rock you in your pelvis or bend your knees a little bit more. What that's going to do is give you more space here in your low back. So sit up tall here with the breath in again. Feel that reach up through the crown of your head. And then when you exhale, hinging at your hips to fold over your legs again. Maybe there's something that's supporting on your knees. Maybe there's something that catches your head. Could be sack blocks, could be a bolster. Allow yourself to soften into it. Inviting in a sense of symmetry here now, after a lot of asymmetrical hip work. Take your chin, lead a little side to side. Feel the squeeze of your back body and take your breath in. And when you're ready, very slowly bring yourself back up. Eventually find your way all the way down onto your back. So if there's, again, any other props, blankets, bolsters here underneath your knees, that as you recline back, feel and notice the sensation around your hips. So you might even take your hands onto your hip bones or in front of your hips for a moment. And notice with all of that rotational work, combined with moving away from your middle, towards your middle, all of those, that the entire circumference here of your hip joint. Just notice it. If you need to wiggle around a little bit to settle yourself in. Your hands on your hip bones, that feels nice. So you can stay there, or you can release your hands here on the sides, palms turned up. Or if there's another position that is more inviting for you to find rest, for Shavasana, always take what it is that you need. Take away what you don't need. As you drift off here into Shavasana,
I'm going to share with you some beautiful words from Donna Falls called Enough. It's enough to offer love, no matter how imperfectly received or given. It's enough to try and fail at a difficult task. Enough to fall and rise, stumble, fall again, sigh, and start to walk, however slowly in the direction the soul points. It's enough to seek peace and to find pain, to gain nothing but a vision of truth and take the long route home. It's enough to feel temptation, the dance of the senses, the hot pull of desire, enough to call on God, walk through fire, sleep and cry and fear or welcome dying. It's enough to be and breathe, to feel the touch of wind on the skin. It's enough to take the days as it comes, to watch the ripples on the lake as the rocks sink to the bottom, to see the wild reflection of the surface calm into a mirror once again. It's enough to hear the voice of fear and hide, or seek it out and face the shame or shadows. It's enough to set out to tame demons and to watch them multiply instead. It's enough to be buffeted by the winds of change and not blown over. I and you and all of us, more than enough. Imagine for a moment that your exhale could begin to deepen. And invite in little movements of your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, you might start to bend into your knees. Maybe you feel the urge to stretch and reach your arms over your head. Maybe you're drawn to roll on your side and curl into a little ball. Listening for the invitation when it's time. There's no rush. When you're ready, bring yourself on up. Maybe you're seated on the floor, maybe you sit on a block or a blanket or a bolster. Bring your hands here into your heart. Keep your eyes closed, or maybe your gaze is soft. To end our time together, I'm going to invite us to either invite in the sound of Om silently just for you. Or if you would like to add a humming sound to your own, that is also an option for you here. Take a breath all the way in through your nose. Invite in the sound of Om, beginning, the middle, the end. The vibration that exists in everything. Bowing deeply to the love, the light, the divine in each other. Be well, stay well. Namaste. Namaste. Thanks for being here.